Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hello, 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 hello. So good. Let me move the keyboard. So good. We have we have so much going on astrologically today. We have so much going on. And I just woke up today and I was like, I want to go back to my roots of this practice. I want to go back to my roots. Welcome in. I want to go back to the roots of my practice on the internet. I remember it was like the early 2021. I started doing a whole bunch of readings on live stream. I haven't been doing them as much recently. I haven't been doing them as much. So today I wanted to get on. I was like, really want to get in with the Mars retrograde again. I just want to go back to the roots of it. You know what I mean? So because we have the Mars retrograde we have going on right now. The moon just moved into Aries. The North Node also in Aries, which technically the moon and the North Node right now are conjunct. Okay, crazy. And then we have Chiron retrograde in Aries too. So a lot of healing. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of masculine healing stuff that's been coming up over the previous like several days. Hey, hey, for me to really like sit with and understand and just, heal as Chiron asks us to do. And then the North Node is like our purpose. So, like our destiny, our calling, this thing that is high up in the sky that we don't understand, but we know we need to walk in that direction. That thing with the North Node is with the moon right now. And the lunar nodes rule over like really long-term moon cycles. So the fact that we have Mars retrograde, hiya, heya, welcome in. Yes, the fact that we have Mars retrograde right now ruling over all of that, it's like we're revisiting old purposes. We're revisiting old healing. And what does that work look like and who have we become because of that work? So I just want to do a little check-in. Hi, welcome in, welcome in. Hey, hey. I just want to do a check-in because I just feel like with the Mars retrograde, it's asking me to get back to my roots. So we're going to do a reading on live stream, which I haven't been doing a lot recently, but we're here for it. Hey from Germany. Hey to you too. Hey to you too. The gods are grounding. Oh, I've been feeling that for sure. Oh, there's been so much. Hold on. Wait. There's been so much crazy magic that's been happening recently in my life. I don't know about you guys. I got no words for it. It's not stuff that I'm like ready to share on the internet either, but like, holy wow. The magic has been crazy recently. So the gods are grounding. I have no doubt in that. That's for sure. The gods are grounding. Also, it landed in the deck as like just one of the cards. Like it just pops up. It just pops up. The gods are grounding. So especially if you've been doing any sort of like offerings to gods or that's a part of your practice, for people who do not have like a super active practice of God work, it could look like the spirit guides. There's a lot of different words for those verbiages or for that like explanation. I would also explain this as the spirits of the sky. So like the spirits who are up high, not the spirits who are below us. They serve different purposes or are in, maybe not serve, but are in different purposes. So gods are grounding. Things from the sky up high are grounding. What do we need to know about the grounding? Oh my goodness gracious. Things are leaving. Things are grounding. Things are leaving. Things are grounding. This is also receiving. And oh my goodness, so as someone who, how do I say, as someone who really, 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 really sits in a lot of masculine energy, a lot of the time I'm very like work oriented. I'm like, get it done, schedule it out, that's how else do you build platforms online? And like, like that's a part of my work. I also am just like always in the really masculine energy. And recently I say that because that we have the receiving energy coming up in the reading. And recently for the previous like week and a half, I just keep being told, they're like, listen, you have to sit and receive. You have to sit and receive. You have to sit and receive. And so there's my energy with this recently has been like, okay, this is not what I want to do, but I know that if I try to go and work right now, or if I try to go and like be in that masculine and like go and create stuff, it's not going to be what I want it to be. It's not going to work the way that I need it to work. So I will sit and I will receive. And that look at all the work that you've been doing, with all the retrograde that we have going on, plus Pluto moving into Aquarius is like a really big shift. So we have a lot of really big things grounding right now. And also allowing this time of receiving. It's like rest and receiving and recovering, because come Aquarius season, like Capricorn season, there's alleviation, there's liberation, there's destination, like we're going somewhere again. But Aquarius season, that's when like the real work begins again. Because of the shift with Pluto, we have this time period of adjustment. We have this time period right now where it's not just adjustment. Is there any other words that can help to bring clarity on that? It's not just adjustment. The one of the things that was in my podcast this week, this is kind of what's coming to mind. One of the things that was coming in my podcast this week is that okay, not just adjustment. Bring it back. Let me find my notes for the podcast because it's in there. Let me go and look. Podcast. Also, Friday the 13th is this week. Hello. That's not what I was gonna look at, but Psalms 1. No, something is arriving. What was it? Bow to honor what you've been through. You can find it. You can do it. Keep consistent. Maybe I said it, maybe I didn't, but it was like in my mind and then it whooshed out. That's all right. My mushroom brain supplements apparently have not kicked in today, but you know what? I'm also kind of tired. It is what it is. So anyways, I'll put this away. Let's go back to it. It's not just about adjustment. It's like we need the time to really like sit and understand, sit and receive, and by doing that, we allow ourselves to leave and move on and like create a right from a wrong. Like there's so much. Pluto in Capricorn was so dense ancestrally. It was so dense within like our ancestral magic and ancestral spaces. But now we have it's different. Pluto and Aquarius, it's different. We're still getting used to it. Pluto and Saturn are still together. So we're still in ancestral bindings, but it's Uranus is involved. So it's like we're doing things differently. And the way that we're able to leave something is if we're receiving. If you're receiving something, then you are leaving, because say that like there's a friend who brings you a gift, okay, or there's some sort of gift that's brought to you in this reading essence from the gods. There's something that grounds from the gods. If that's receiving, and if you're receiving that, then you're doing something new. So it's like a new beginning because there's an ending. There's an ending because there's a new beginning. Like they go together, they're stitched together. And it's just like right now, we just kind of have to ride the weather. Thank you for the words. Right now, we just have to kind of ride the weather because there's a lot of different changes, adjustments, shifts that are going to be happening. Also, too, Pluto is a binding planet. It's one of our planets that brings binding and binding work and like contracts. There's also the exchanges. It's a lot of binding energy. So with the binding energy changing over into Aquarius, it's also the binding of the shadows. It's like the bindings that we can't really see. And with that, oh, thanks for that. With that being a part of this, then when we get more into this Aquarian energy, first in Capricorn season, we need to take the time to really like sit. Also, too, hold on, because let's go back to some short-term stuff. With the moon in Aries right now, the Mars retrograde, dude, let's talk about the next couple of months, to be honest with you. Short-term to look at the long-term. Let's talk about the next couple of months in the retrogrades. I've been talking about Pluto and Capricorn and Pluto and Aquarius. I feel like I've just been yapping for weeks now about it. But looking at the retrogrades, so let's move to that. The two retrogrades that I'm really like, I've just got my eye on them. What are you really doing? What is interesting is the Mars retrograde and the Venus retrograde, because we have a Mars retrograde. Hold up. We're in it now. It goes direct February 24th, okay? We have less than a week, and then March 2nd, Venus goes retrograde in Aries. What? Who? Who? Huh? You're telling me that right now we have to reprioritize, restructure, re-strategize, get all our priorities together. And then the Venus retrograde, the reason that I'm like, shocked is not the right word, just kind of like, it's a very discerned path forward with this energy. The reason I'm a little like shook about it, or like the discernment of it, is because Venus retrogrades, they're associated with the 40 days and 40 nights of desert. It's isolation. There's not a reception. So like everything that's being received right now is coming in. Thank you for this again. Oh my goodness, the grounding of the gods and the receiving energy. Everything that's coming in right now is to help carry us through the next several seasons, because Venus retrograde, again, 40 days, 40 nights. When does it go direct? It's going to go direct after eclipse season. That's the other crazy part about this, is that we have, when Mars goes direct, okay, Mars goes direct, and then we're going into eclipse season. Because when does that? Mars goes direct. We have the new moon in Pisces. Oh my gosh, that chain of events is crazy. Mars goes direct. We have a new moon in Pisces. Then Venus is going to retrograde. And then that new moon that's in Pisces is the ruler of the full moon eclipse that comes up a couple weeks after that. Let me double check dates just so that everybody has them. Full moon in Virgo. That's the lunar eclipse. That one's on the 14th. And then new moon solar eclipse in Aries is on the 29th of March, which is going to be ruled by Mars. So all of this retrograde stuff, the Mars stuff that's happening over the next couple of years is like, I feel like I'm a deer staring into headlights right now with that energy, because not that there's going to be any crash. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. It's not that. It's the Mars with the reprioritizing that we're doing currently. Saturn goes into Aries next year. Neptune goes into Aries next year. Those are like really big planets. And if you've been feeling the repercussions of the endings of those cycles, because Neptune just went direct, Saturn is direct in Pisces now too, they're not going to retrograde until after they enter into Aries. And Aries is the primal fire. It's the new beginning. And then we also have, I don't know how to put this into words, okay? It's a little bit beyond verbal or knowledgeable perspective. But we have next year, over the next 2 years, we have several different conjunctions of Neptune and Saturn in Aries, okay? They're going to be sitting together at 1 degree. It happens technically twice, but there is going to be a time period where they're sitting conjunct. It's just not like exact, but they're pretty close together. It's still a conjunction, less than a degree orb, but it's not an exact conjunction. So there's technically 3 of them, but if you want to get super exact, there's only 2 over the next several years. And the most recent time, like every time in history that you look at this transit happening where Neptune is direct with Saturn, or conjunct with Saturn in Aries, there's like secret societies are born. There's all of this like just spiritual systems. It's the new beginning of spiritual systems paired with Pluto and Aquarius. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Oh. So everything that we are receiving in this season here and currently, that's like coming to ground, it's supposed to help carry us through. Not supposed to, it will. It'll help to carry us through really like March, April time, because when is it? April 13th is when we have Venus go direct. It's also going to go direct on a full moon in Libra. So we are going to have, it's like everything that, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and that new moon eclipse that was in Libra at the beginning of October wiped me out. It was really hard. That was a whole lot of hard energy. The dark moon was involved with it. It was very, very dark. It was very, very shadowed. It was very much like the secrets and the mysteries and the hard things that have happened that have to do with mother energy, mother wounds, betrayals. Ugh, okay, we have to sit with it. The healing work, it works, and that's wonderful. But it also it's hard to sit in that sometimes. It's hard. Somebody needs a hug, and it's me. So with the Venus going direct on a full moon in Libra, sometimes I have jokes, and I'm grateful for that, because sometimes these transits are really harsh. So when Venus goes direct in Libra, in Pisces, and then we have the full moon in Libra on April 13th, same day, same time. Same day, same time. I don't know if they're exactly at the same time, but just generally speaking, same day, same time. So when that happens, everything that was hard, okay, so we have this eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, everything that was hard to deal with throughout like the fall season when it came to receiving and giving and the vulnerability of that and like going over the healing work and all of that, the Venus retrograde comes through and restructures and reorders, and it says, let's get this out, because Venus is going to be conjunct with Saturn during a lot of that. So it's like new order of receiving, new structure of receiving. You're reordering your time. I will say too, if your relationships can survive a Venus retrograde, congratulations. You're probably supposed to be with that person for a long time. So just something to keep in mind about that. But it's also going to be, that's over eclipse season. So the Venus retrograde does help to shift us back to other eclipses, but it's doing it in a very indirect way. Our next eclipse season, we're in a really transitionary period right now because we have both of the lunar nodes kind of like working together. And the next eclipse season is going to be the same thing, except the next eclipse season, rather than it being a whole bunch of endings, it'll be a lot of new beginnings, while also kind of like wrapping us up and constricting us. So if there's any other wounds that you have left, hi to you too. If there's any other wounds that you have left from just stuff that's happened over the previous several years, these next couple of months, it's like, here's the gifts that you've received from the work that you've been doing over this previous several years. And honestly, it could be longer than that, maybe like 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. It depends on who you are and kind of like what your placements in your chart are doing with the transits currently. But it could be a long time. For some people, it's just going to be the previous couple of years, as the South Node is now moving out of Libra. It was moving out of Scorpio and has been in Libra for a while, but that South Node in Scorpio was like the death and the rebirth. And now with the North Node in Aries, we're having that rebirth, restart energy. So we kind of are in this like adjustment situation. And then Pisces, which is where the North Node is going to be next year, is literally about transition. So we have this huge transition opening up, while at the same time, Saturn's moving into Aries, new beginning. Neptune's moving into Aries, new beginning spiritually. Saturn is like new order, new structure. I don't know if you've been seeing what's happening in the world right now, but new order and new structure maybe doesn't sound too bad. Whatever direction you choose to take that in, okay, but just generally speaking, okay. Let's not get too deep into that. But yeah, there's a lot of new stuff happening next year. So all the stuff that we're receiving right now, let me pull those cards up. All the stuff that we're receiving right now, sit with it, rest with it, receive it, because it's going to help to carry us through. Thank goodness for both me and you. I could use that. You know what? I'm grateful for that. Thank you for bringing it in. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. What else do we need to see? What else do we need to see? I know. No more hell. No more. No more. Do I even need to go further into that? I don't feel like it. No more. Close the door. 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 It's and by close the door, removal. Remove yourself from where you've been. Remove yourself from the mindsets. Remove yourself from the like holding on to the heart space of what you've been through. Dude. Okay. I'm going to share some personal stuff. Maybe not too personal, but one of the things I do in my free time when I'm not on thanks for that. When I'm not on the internet, okay, is I train in martial arts. It's one of my favorite things. And I started years ago, took some time off. There's some other like cruddy stuff that happened. And I started training because I was like, there's some cruddy things that have happened and I need to train. Okay. So now that I'm back into it, when you work with the body, and this is a lot about to relate it to astrology and kind of what's happening right now, this is a lot about the South Node in Virgo. And like we've had activations with the Libra energy of like healing of the heart and healing of the feminine. And that's kind of what we're going to be working through over the next couple of months, especially into that Venus retrograde. And then after the Venus retrograde, like the adjustment of that, the South Node in Virgo is very body oriented. Virgo rules our gut and our digestive system. It's also about how the body communicates. So our limbs, our body, when you're like working out, it could be literally just as simple as going on a walk. It could be also just as simple as like sitting down and being with the body, because not everybody is able-bodied. So like literally if you just sit with your body and like, how does it feel? What energy is moving through it? That kind of stuff. That's also Virgo related. Virgo also has to do with the food that we eat and like, how are we relating that to our communication? How does that alter our world? If you're looking at the story of Virgo and Scorpio, Scorpio is where the exchanges happen and Virgo is where the contracts are signed. Virgo, if you look at the story of Virgo, it's the story of Demeter and Persephone. And the only reason that Persephone gets bound up to the contract of the underworld, which is Scorpio, is because there is the eating of the pomegranate seeds. And so there's a bunch of other stuff that happens in those stories, okay, but just on a general level. So what we eat helps to bind the contracts. It like activates the contracts, and a lot of the times we don't realize it. This is why communion with people is very important. Who are you communing with? Why are you communing with them? What are you receiving from that communionship? There's a reason that I eat by myself most of the time. All right, sit here, I'll make my own food. That's just what it is. And I'm grateful for it. I wouldn't rather it be any other way. But those contracts start there. So anyways, okay. So when it comes to those body shifts, a lot of the stuff I've been experiencing now that I'm back into my training, so kind of back on track there, is the healing work. That's one thing that this Virgo South Node is going to start to come in. It's going to start to bring in. Think about how hard the previous years have been. Or not. Okay, you don't have to revisit it if you don't want to, but it's been difficult. So this Virgo South Node, we're kind of already starting to feel it a little bit, or just the adjustments. The nodes switch over January 28th. So we do have some time still to like adjust and kind of like sit with the energy, understand it before it arrives. The South Node in Virgo is going to ask us to really sit in the like transformative bonding of the transformative bonding. Interesting. What in transformative bonding? I think I'm gonna just leave it at that. What are you bonding with? How are you bonding with it? Is it food? Is it people? Is it air? How do you care? Okay, interesting. So, because what is gonna happen? So let's track it back to the South Node in Scorpio. Death, betrayal, power struggles, power dynamics, power grabs, hard. Those years were hard. 2021 to 2023, okay? And I have a lot of Scorpio and Pluto in my chart that is very connected to, thankful for you too, very connected to Saturn stuff, okay? Hard years, hard years. Now that we've had the Libra so Scorpio is what unbalances the scales. Libra is what brings them back into balance. And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to explain the movement of the South, or the nodes, the lunar nodes. They're the one planetary object, because they're not technically a planet. They're like a position. It's the one planetary object in our chart that is constantly moving backwards. Everything else moves forwards. It's the one thing that's constantly moving backwards. So it's always in retrograde, which in my opinion is not then retrograde, because if you're always moving in that direction, then it would just be, but the technical terms, okay, it's always in retrograde. It's always moving backwards. It looks like it's moving backwards in the sky. So normally in our direction, astrologically, we would look at Virgo. That's where the contracts are signed, okay? And then we have Libra, balance those contracts, make sure that they are equal, okay? And then Scorpio is where the exchange happens. It's where things become unbalanced, or it's like we could realize like the mistakes of the exchange, or like I didn't expect this, and this is not the exchange that I wanted, or I didn't receive the equal value that I thought I was going to. Sometimes the exchanges work out really well. Sometimes they don't, just depends. Scorpio is also about taxes, in the sense that it's very detailed within those exchanges. It's very, very detailed. It's very detail pressed. So with the lunar nodes moving backwards, okay, in the South Node in Scorpio, things were out of balance. Things got thrown out of balance. They got thrown out of whack. They got thrown. And then the South Node in Libra has been about taking our power back. Take your power back, reclaim, re-aim, restructure, find like a common ground. And it's required a lot of us to do a lot of justice work, a lot of healing work, a lot of removal work, because of things that we receive that we don't need around us anymore. So it's been a big clearing. With the change of Pluto into Aquarius also is going to influence this, but I'm going to keep with the South Node. So the South Node being in Virgo, because Virgo is where the contracts are signed for Scorpio, Virgo then is going to release us from those contracts. The South Node in Virgo is going to release us from those contracts. Do you know how excited I am for that? We get to get out of it. We're going to sign new contracts for the next 18 years. Thanks so much. Because I'm looking at the previous 18 years going, hey, when is it my turn? Which I've been hearing a lot recently, that it's time for people who have not had their turn and have been doing the work to have their turn. So congrats if that's for you. Then here we go. So here we go. The January 28th is when those lunar nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo. The South Node's going to be in Virgo. Plus the North Node in Pisces is like, we're finding new spiritual purposes. We're finding new purpose within our transitions. It's going to be very different. It's going to be very different. Okay. So just like over the next couple months, get your bearing, get your handle on everything. It is, Melissa, same, calm in the quiet, and it says, yes, me as well. It's like, sit down. I keep, my brain is like, we have work to do. We have videos to make. We have the, da, 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 da. But my body and my heart and like this side of my head are like, can we just be calm? Please, we need to be calm. We need to listen. We need to rest. We need to receive. So I have been. That's true. Big transitions, big transitions, big transitions. What else do we need to see? Spiritual grounding. Still with the what are you surrounding? What are you surrounding spiritual grounding? Something that's rooted. Spiritual grounding, roots. Okay, so for some people, this could look like ancestral practices or ancestral, spiritual practices, spirit grounding, spiritual pathway grounding. It's like a new spiritual pathway. That's going to be more about the North Node in Pisces, new spiritual pathways. Oh, okay. I feel like I just had a whole clarity moment inside of my head because I've been sitting with myself for the previous. Let me get my tea. You know what? This is tea time for right now. Oh my goodness. Over the previous, basically since eclipse season, okay, because we're talking about the lunar nodes, basically since eclipse season, I've been sitting with myself and being like, I feel like I don't have direction anymore. And like my work is changing and I'm different. And like I'm still in this big adjustment period. Where do I go now? And how do I do that? But I also have to keep up the work that I've been doing. So it's like just this big shift, big transition, what happens right before spirit brings through are the spirits in your practice, however you pronounce that. All right. There's a lot of different verbiages and names for like the highest spirit or God or source or however, there's so many different pronunciations. Okay. And technically each of those beings is their own being. In my opinion, that big being is nameless. And also it's good to have an articulation of it because then we can talk about it. So that big being, the great being, highest spirit as it is. Okay. If there's a new spiritual path that's grounding, think about for yourself for just a moment how much work you've done within your spiritual practice to ground the path that you're on. How much work have you already done to do that? Because if there's a new spiritual path that's grounding, that means it's like what I see is like you've been on one river, because this rune is also about the river. It's about the path of the water. So if you've been on one river for a while, like you've been in the work, maybe you've had a boat, maybe you haven't, maybe you've had to swim, maybe you've had to float, maybe you've been with other people, maybe it's been a really big boat, your path, okay? But you've been on this path for a while. However, that was your style, been on the path for a while. And what I see is just like these hands from the sky coming down to pick you up and be like, it's time to move over to this river now. Boop. Or it's time to move to this land now. Boop. However, wherever, it's like a new placement, a new position, a new provision, so there's right now we're in the process. We like haven't been all the way picked up and put down yet. This is very Pisces energy. Pisces has to do with the rain clouds, and that's what happens with the water is like it gets picked up and then it gets dropped off at a new destination. So these energies coming through. Oh my goodness. Of course. So going back to me being like, well, why do I feel this way? Of course, and like my path and my purpose is changing and I don't know how to navigate it quite yet. That's totally fine. You're not supposed to navigate it yet because there's nothing to navigate. You have to go up in the sky and figure some stuff out. And then, or the sky will come to you. That's also true. Especially with, let me go and look. It's in March time. It starts at like the end of February, around the new moon in Pisces on the 28th. There's a lot of, when the North Node moves into Pisces, oh my gosh, this month of March that's coming up is about to be crazy. It's about to be crazy because the North Node, it's going to move into Pisces. It's going to be conjunct with Neptune. It's going to be conjunct with Saturn. It's going to be conjunct with Venus. It's going to be conjunct with Mercury. What else is happening with that? And then the day of the Aries eclipse, this blows my mind. Let's talk about this one for a minute. This blows my mind. We have, so the new moon solar eclipse is in Aries on the 29th of March. On the 30th, so a day, not even a day after that, Mercury retrograde enters Pisces at the same time that Neptune enters Aries. So they cross over. Oh my gosh. In the new moon in Aries, okay, they're going to be conjunct in Pisces, but it's still at the very at Neptune and Mercury retrograde are going to be conjunct in Pisces, but it's still at the very, very, very end of Pisces, and they're basically conjunct in Aries also. So there's going to be some huge new spiritual deliverance, something delivered to you, something delivered. It's like, okay, you've been waiting for this. Here you go. You've been working for this. Here you go. New spiritual path. Here, this is delivered. Also, too, if you look back at, I think it was April 8th is the date. There was a new moon solar eclipse in Aries then. For me, I'll talk about my experience with that and sit with your discernment of kind of like how to navigate this space if you want to, if it feels resonatory, okay, because it might not. But that new moon solar eclipse in Aries that was on April 8th, for me, I was sitting here, maybe not in this exact position, but I was sitting and I was writing. I was writing and I was writing, and there was all of this information coming in. I was sitting and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And I felt like I was like, well, this is a lot of writing. Like, do I need to stop? And it was just flowing out of me. So we also had a Mercury retrograde over that period. So it was like the revisiting of an old purpose, the revisiting of an old purpose to be made new again. And when we get to this new moon solar eclipse in Aries in March, on March 29th of this coming year, so not this year, the one that we had previous, but the coming up one, there's going to be like a remembrance of that. And it's also going to allow us to see a bigger picture. There's also going to be a new spiritual purpose with that information, which actually makes sense because I'm looking at what I was studying. I was a bunch of math stuff. Listen, love math, kind of a nerd about it. It's great. Love it. Theories, philosophies around math is my favorite place to be, and mentally is one of my favorite places. Also, at the time, I was like, I don't know why. I get that this is a new thing. Where is this coming from? Where is this taking me? I don't know. So I didn't get the spiritual part of it at the time, but the information was important. Recently, since then, there's been a transition of like, how do I apply this math information spiritually? How do I apply this information on a different sort of space? And with that Neptune entering Aries being conjunct with Mercury, there'll be for whatever that purpose or like information that was coming through for you, and like you've been able to have more spiritual application of it wherever Aries is in your chart, especially mentally. It's like the mental information. Aries rules our head. So mental information. That eclipse is going to be like, okay, well, here now it makes sense. You've been waiting for it to make sense. It hasn't made sense and you've just been walking in it. So good for you. And also now it makes sense. So some roots coming in around that. Also too, another thing around this that I feel with the cards that came out is what are you rooted in? What is your practice rooted in? This, again, for some of those roots, ancestral is important. It could also be, though, like, are you rooted in love? And like, what have you been practicing for a long time? Root as in like a routine or a schedule, a structure of some kind. That's going to be more Saturn, but still applicable. That's true. Yeah. Hello. The cat has come to visit and then decided to walk away. Something important to say. All right, let's pick these up. Interesting. I have a feeling this being at a crossroads because literally nothing is clear. Honestly, okay. You can't see it on TikTok, but that was a comment on YouTube. That's interesting. Let's talk about it because one of the things that I'm really excited about with Pluto changing right now, okay, moving into Aquarius, we don't have to be stuck in the fates of Pluto and Capricorn. Have you been walking in patterns and structure and order for those 16 years while Pluto was in Capricorn? And just for whatever reason, like the karmic debt sort of thing, for whatever reason, you just couldn't get out of it. Okay. You're bound to it, stuck in it. Ugh. Okay. Now that Pluto's in Aquarius, fate is changing. How have you been rearranging? So this is one of the ways that I work with fate. Understand fate, create fate. How you walk, how you talk. That's what creates the changes of fate. Because one of the fundamentals I work with fate, and I write about fate and change and presence a lot on the blog space. So if you're interested in more like detailed information, there's more information on the blog. But for now, let's work with what's here. So fate change, and presence. Those are the three, because as a Norse practitioner, as well as doing a whole bunch of astrological stuff on the internet, the Norse kind of like fundamentals is the three weavers of fate. But a long time ago, several years ago, the spirits that were like, okay, you need to bring present day names. Fate, change, and presence. Those are the present day names of the fate weaving. So sit with that rather than trying to bring up the old tongue and the old words, because it also makes it more relatable. So just as a clarity for where I'm coming from, where I'm rooted in, see the roots. Okay, beautiful. For where I'm rooted in that practice, fate, change, and presence. So fate is a binding spirit. We have no control of fate, but we can articulate how we change through the fates that we're offered. How are we being present with the fates that we've been offered? How do we create change within ourselves? How do we create change out in the world? So fate, if you could just sit with the image, imagine it for a second. If fate is, watching over or under, because technically the well would be underneath, but still, fate is watching, right? If fate's giving this thing to you and says, okay, what are you going to do with this? And you decide to walk through it in a very specific way. Pluto is also the binding of transformation, the binding of change. So if you walk through it in a very specific way and said, I have changed into this kind of person. This is now how I'm meeting these crossroads. This is now how I'm meeting these fates. This is now how I'm meeting this, is because I've changed. Here I am now. Those are the new fates. It's the new fates. You've turned the tables. You've turned the wheel. Also in tarot, it's like the wheel has been turning, and now the wheel. It's like right now we're adjusting to its final kind of placement, and that's where we're set up for the beginning of this Pluto and Aquarius transit. Which, thank goodness, I had clarity come in recently around how my fates have changed, and I hadn't seen it yet, but it came through. It was like when Friday, Saturday, and I was like, oh wow, okay, yes, that's what my fate. Yes, I will receive this change. That sounds like a great change. I'm grateful for how I did make that change. That is true. That's true. Pulled the wheel this week. That's good for you. The wheel is an interesting card, to be honest. Oh, fate puts a brick in our face and asks what we're gonna do with it. You're not wrong. Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's funny. Pulled the wheel today, all caps. Today. Yeah, I've been pulling the wheel a lot recently. It's been good, and it's been okay. Do we need any more? What else do we need to see? Is there anything else we need to see? Let's sit with some more. Couple more. Again, God's grounding. Oh my goodness. If I keep yes, hi my love. You want to come sit up here with me? No, I just need to listen. That's the message. All right, then listen then. This phone doesn't ever get knocked either, and it's shaking right now. Interesting. Your sense of decor is cool. Thank you. I've been making my homie more home recently. It's great. My home more homie. Let me talk this message because the cat is going a little, and whenever he does that, for me, I know it's important. So the God's grounding, something direct, something that you are not going to have to further inspect. It's like, yeah, this was sent from up there. This was sent from them, whoever them as the spirits in your practice are. This was sent from them. I have no question about it. There's going to be no way to deny it. There's no doubt about it. And this is not how do I say this? Sometimes those groundings, it's like there's no denying it because, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I'm going through this lesson right now. Or, oh my goodness, I cannot believe, like it's something that's more difficult, okay? For people who maybe haven't been doing the work, because again, these sorts of tools are neutral. So it depends on how you have been working with them or are working with them. That's true. Something grounding directly. Think about if you have been making offerings, think about the offerings you've been making. Have you had clarity around them? Have they grounded yet? What is the work really? And I literally asked myself this question earlier because I've just had this previous week has been a large unbinding for me. It's been like the finality of years long work, the finality of like ancestral curses, finally having clarity about them breaking and what that means. And really the clarity of like, now that they are broken, who am I? And now that they are broken, where do I go? It's like the sense of liberation that's been the word, that's been the focus, to liberate, to be liberated from those bindings. bindings, to be liberated from what has come before me. So within that work, the liberation work, not a deliberation, liberation, the undoing of those bindings has offered me this perspective of like, holy cow, I've been making so many offerings. I literally asked myself this before I got on live today. I was like, now that it's a head scratcher, now that that work is done, because I've been bound to it for a long time. Okay. The final years of it were really hard. I've been bound to it for a long time, but it's over. I did the work to get out of it. We're clear of it. The road is clear. I'm clear now. It's done. We're finished. War is over. It's through. Okay. What happens now? I was asking that earlier. What happens now? And I literally sat and I looked at the altar because I'm like in between offerings currently. I'm waiting for my candles that I'm going to be making offerings with to show up, and they haven't shown up yet. So it is what it is. I just don't have it transitionary space, right? Sometimes it needs to be. And I was sitting and looking at the altar and I was like, now that that work is over, and if they're not, because if you're bound to it in your practice, this is the thing about ancestral work and God work, is they're connected. They're connected. And so if you're bound up in something, whether that be just you singularly, you're still an ancestor. Or if it's in like the roots of your stories of ancestral lineages, it's going to affect any of the spirits that you make offerings to, whether they're ancestrally connected to you or not, or how that relationship works, discernment for yourself. Okay. So because of that work being unbound, I was looking around and I was like, they have been bound up in this too. The spirits in my practice, the gods in my practice, they've been bound up in this thing ancestrally that I've been bound up in, right? That's been going on. Pluto and Capricorn is about undoing those ancestral bindings. Pluto is the reproductive organs. Capricorn is our bones and our skin. It's like the depths and the height. Aquarius is the circulatory system, which is very interesting. We can talk about that another time, but it's literally like how our bones grow and how that's connected to those reproductive organs. Okay. So very ancestrally connected. Also, because of the function of Pluto and Capricorn together, those bindings have been on us for more than likely hundreds of years. Crazy. So it's over now. So I was asking this question. I can't even like get to it. I keep talking about what has been. I don't know what's going to be now. If I'm not bound up in it, what has been done before me, and it's over. I've broken those stories. I'm starting something new. Now, what are we bound up in? Something very directly comes to ground. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. There's also nothing to figure out about it, is what I feel. It's like, it's just going to arrive. It's just going to arrive, which is actually part of the podcast this week, is that there's two arrivals. Something arrived when Pluto was conjunct with Venus. That was on Saturday. If something arrived on Saturday for you, lots of messages coming through, lots of information. Maybe there was a crossing. Maybe there was a gift. Maybe something. There was something arrived on Saturday. It was like Friday night, Saturday time. Okay. It was conjunct pretty early in the morning where I am. I'm in the Eastern time zone. It was like 6:30. Is when that conjunction started, I'm pretty sure. So like majority of Saturday. So there's that one. And then at the end of the week, let me go back and look at the weekly notes for the podcast just so that I can double check and make sure I get it correct. First of all, it's Friday the 13th. Hello. Okay. So anybody who does work with the mothers or gives offerings to the mothers, it's Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. I'm so excited. It's such a good day. It's Friday. One of the things I wrote down is I laugh at myself because sometimes I don't even realize like the impact of the words that I say until after the fact. I'll say it and it feels true and it feels great. And then I'll look at it later and be like, oh, you didn't mean to say that, but you did say that. So I wrote down for that part of the podcast on December 12th and the 13th, when the moon's in Taurus this week, that it's about to get real weird. Well, weird is the essence of fate. It's a spirit of fate in Norse. And whenever that's where the saying like things are like, oh, that was weird. Like when we say that in our common English language, that's literally us like giving reverence to that origin. It's like, oh, that was something of fate. Oh, that was something that fate crossed. That was weird. Anyways, some extra stuff going on. But in this, with the moon in Taurus, and again, moon in Taurus, December 12th through the 13th. The reason that this is important is because Uranus retrograde right now is also in Taurus, which rules over Pluto in Aquarius, and now also Venus in Aquarius. So something arrived on Saturday. Now the 12th and the 13th, that's when the moon cycle arrives with it. This is not something it's going to be a gift. It's going to be a gift. So something arrived on Saturday. There's something arriving on the 12th and the 13th as well. So something undeniable, something triable, undeniable. Undeniable. The other thing that's coming through around these fates changing or turning, or like you've turned in a different direction. One of the things I've been hearing recently is like, okay, you've done the work to become this different person. You've been moving in this order and handling these things in a very specific way for a long time. And now through that transformation process, we're giving you the offering of a chance. It's like we're giving you the offering of an opportunity. Here's your opportunity to now be the person that you become and do things differently. And fates can be rebound. That's part of Pluto and Aquarius, is that the bindings are not as sticky. They're not as sticky. So just something to keep in mind, that it's to be able to keep something bound with Pluto and Aquarius, we have to be even more like prominently secure within the bindings, because it's air energy. Earth energy, it's pretty easy to bind. If the air is still, okay, think about this for a minute. The air is still and you bind up the earth in something, you bind something physical, then more than likely it's just easily going to stay no matter what the binding is, no matter how strong the binding is, right? Pluto and Capricorn, it makes sense. But then what happens when the winds pick up? What happens when the winds pick up? Who are you going to be then? Is the binding going to stick? When the winds pick up, Pluto and Aquarius, because the winds, I love Aquarius, love Aquarius. It's the primal winds, the primordial winds, the winds of fate, the winds of change, the winds that bring through rearrange. Primordial winds. It's the primordial winds, the winds that carry the clouds, okay? The winds that carry the rain cycle, also true. Also the wind in the air that is way out there. It's like Aquarius is the air that's the edge of the atmosphere. It's like the ozone layer, closest to outer space, which also is crazy to me. That's a crazy concept that there's like that, it's a border of the air. So yeah, so that is a little, we have to be able to like really constrict it, really bind it up. Only the bindings that are really firm and really secure are going to be the bindings that stay in Pluto and Aquarius. It's very different than the energy that we've been in, you know? It's very different. It's like our will is floating around. Honestly, yeah, I don't think that I have any other words. That's very true. Thank you so much for that, because I haven't been able to articulate it, and that's pretty accurate. Because literally Pluto is about the study of the will. And if we have Pluto now in Aquarius, and think about what I said about Aquarius is the air way out there, okay? Now Pluto, which is the study of the will, is way out on the edge of the earth. So yeah, that's a shift, a switch up, a rearrange, a change. I'm grateful for the unbindings. Yes, it's a good thing for sure. The past cycles it's felt really good. I'm also too feeling the like, what now? Where do we go now? Because there's a lot of, with all the retrogrades, let me go back to the chart for a second. With all the retrogrades that we're experiencing currently, and just kind of like how the retrogrades are working currently and kind of what we can expect with the retrogrades coming up in the next couple of months, there's a lot of going back. It's a lot of going back, and just like at harvest time, it's like we're going back to scoop what we need to into the future. It's like what has been done that needs to be scooped. And this is kind of like the final one. This is like if you were moving out of a home, or you're moving out of an apartment, you're moving out of like a place of living, right? If you're looking back into the house and you're being like, okay, did I clean everything? Has everything been done? Have I gotten everything packed? It's like this is our moment of doing that over the next couple of months. It's like, okay, everything that we packed up now needs to come with us. We need to make sure that these things are cleaned and cleared out, because we've already received. That's kind of like the energy of this week and maybe next week too, especially with the full moon. When's that happening? True, full moon in Gemini with Mercury going direct in Sagittarius on the same day. Ooh, that one happens on December 15th. So lots of like clarity. We'll get more into that moon another time, but lots of clarity coming through, especially around words and like maybe verbal things that you've been sharing about yourself or with other people, journaling. Also, with the Libra eclipse that happened on October 2nd, our words were binding us up in a direction. So just clarity on that as well, if you wanted to go revisit it. True. That's true. Interesting. And then we have a third quarter moon in Virgo a week after. Also interesting. Introspection. That's true. But anyways, over the next couple months, it's like we're receiving the new house right now, the new thing, the new place of living, we're receiving that in this current moment over the next like week or two. And then the next couple of months is like moving everything over into the new thing, moving everything over into the new thing, moving everything over into the new thing. Oh my goodness. And then we need to make sure that we kind of have it like settled or just like feels good by the time that we get to our eclipse season coming up in March, because that's when like there's the changes start to happen externally again. It's like we're being brought into a new home, we're being brought into a new cover, we're being brought into a new place of residence, new placement, new space, new protections, new directions. And then for the rest of 2025 and probably for the next like while the North Node's in Pisces, so about a year and a half, with some lingering eclipse energy. That's also true. So about 2 years. We'll just give it about 2 years. Then it's like we're getting used to that new placement. We're getting used to that new creative space. Oh my gosh. Okay. I actually have to get off. I have a session here very soon. So just, it is. And I even, before I got on, I was like, do I have enough time to do this reading today? Yes, I do. So anyways, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out and being here. But yeah, I'm going to get off. I'm going to go do my session. If you are interested in sessions, there are bookings available on the website. Also too, I send out weekly podcasts. If you're interested in those, you can also get the blog updates on those weekly podcasts. There's some other stuff I send out on the blog as well. And then what was the other thing? I have one. If you're someone who is subscribed to the blog, I have one that I have like in the chamber that I have not edited right now. So I need to get that done. But I also have YouTube up, and I've been working on kind of more like long-term courses for people. So like teaching about the placements and kind of what to look for, more of like an application space. I don't teach on the direct information when it comes to like Mercury and Libra means this. I don't necessarily teach on that, but I teach on like the one that I'm working on right now is spiritual initiation. So like going through spiritual initiation, what do you need to look at astrologically in your chart? Here's the homework, and then you can go study it on your own as you need to. So that's kind of like it sets up a structure for people to be able to see what they need to see. But that's what I got going on, that's what I got going down. Oh no, knocked down? No. Yes, take time to rest. I got sick back in October. I think there's another wave of sickness, kind of like I've been seeing it rush through different spaces or like go through different spaces. So definitely take care of yourself for sure. But yeah, I'm going to go. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for the support. So good. Oh my goodness. So good. Look at a hug for myself. Can't get hugs from all of you on the internet. That's true. But I'll sit here and yes, embrace. The other thing too, with TikTok possibly not going to be around, there's other places I'm found on the internet. So if you're interested in my other offerings, you can always check out my website. I'm like, part of me, that's not true. Let me not speak on it too much because I've been told what I need to be told, and that it is what it is. So I'll keep my mouth shut about it. But if you want to find me on other spaces, I have other places. So that's it. I'll talk to you guys soon.